In today's lesson, we're going to continue solving multi-step equations using the distributive property and combining like terms. In our previous lesson, in lesson 1, these were the 4 steps that I gave you in order to solve multi-step equations. Today, what you're going to find is the steps are exactly the same. I have changed them a little bit just because I think it will help you in every problem to break down step 2. So if you notice, step 2 says combine like terms. Moving forward, these are going to be the steps that we use. I have now broken it down. When you combine like terms, I first want you to combine like terms on the left side. Then I also want you to combine like terms on the right side. And then step 4, we're still only going to have 4 steps, but the 4th step will be to solve the remaining equation using the inverse operation. So the only difference from today's steps versus lesson 1's steps is that I have broken down this step 2 to have the left side and the right side. And I've also gotten rid of the check your solution. Again, I'm going to always encourage you. You can use the Desmos calculator to verify whether or not your answer is correct, and you should do that. But moving forward, that is no longer one of the steps that I am going to make sure that you do. So these are the 4 steps. We're going to continue solving multi-step equations. Here's our first example. Negative 3x plus 9 plus 6x equals negative 12. Make sure you write this down and follow along as I work out this first example. So step 1 is to distribute, okay? And what you're going to notice is there is nothing to distribute here, okay? So I'm going to move on to step 2. Step 2 is to combine like terms on the left side. So like terms are terms that have the same variable and the same exponent. And in this side of the equation, I have a negative 3x and I have a positive 6x. And those are like terms. So I'm going to put those two together. And so I have negative 3x plus 6x. And when I add those, I'm going to get a positive 3x. Now, after I've combined the like terms, I'm going to bring everything else down. So I have a plus 9 equals negative 12. And now I'm going to draw a line that just goes down the middle just to emphasize that I have this left side and I have this right side. And in an equation, I want to make sure that I keep them balanced. So whatever I do to the left side, I also am going to make sure I have to do to the right side. So I have 3x plus 9 equals negative 12. So in order to solve for the x, to get the x by itself, I have to get rid of this plus 9. Well, here is when I use the inverse operation. So the inverse of plus 9 is minus 9. And whatever I do to the left side here, I have to do to the right side. The 9s are going to cancel out, leaving me with 3x equals negative 12 minus 9, and that is going to give me a negative 21. So now I have this 3x equals negative 21. The 3 in the x is multiplication. So this says 3 times x. So the inverse operation of 3 times x is to divide by 3. And I'm going to do that to both sides. Whatever I do to the left side, when I'm solving the equation, I also have to do to the right side because I have to keep them balanced. So 3 divided by 3 is going to cancel, leaving me with x equals negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7. And that is my answer. X equals negative 7. And so what I can do now is I could check this using Desmos. I could put x equals negative 7. I could put in this part of the expression, and the answer should give me negative 12. And so that is the first example. Please make sure that you have written that down. Now let's move on to example number 2. Okay. First step in solving multi-step equations is to do the distributive property. Is there anything to distribute there? There is. There is this negative 3. So I am going to distribute the negative 3 to the x and to the positive 4. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Then I'm just going to bring down the rest of my equation. And now I'm going to draw my line so that I can, emphasize keeping my equation balanced with the left and the right side. In step 2, I'm going to combine like terms on the left side. Are there any like terms to combine? Yes, there are. Like terms is this negative 3x and this negative 2x because they both have x's. So when I can put these together, when I combine them, negative 3 minus 2, just, combining the coefficients, I'm going to get negative 5x. Then I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. The minus 12 equals 13. And here, step 3 would be to combine like terms on the right side, but there's nothing to combine, so I am going to keep on going. Then I need to solve the remaining equation by using the inverse operation. So I need to get rid of this minus 12, so I'm going to do the inverse, which is to add 12. And whatever I do to one side, I'm also going to have to do to the other side. Negative 12 and the positive 12s are going to cancel, leaving me with negative 5x equals 13 plus 12 is 25. Now, I have this negative 5x equals 25. This operation is multiplication. Whenever a coefficient and a variable are together, they are being multiplied. So the inverse operation would be to divide by negative 5. And I'm going to do that to both sides. The negative 5s are going to cancel, and that leaves me with x equals 25 divided by negative 5, which is negative 5. And that is my answer. X equals negative 5. Again, at this point, I can check it by entering this into decimals. X equals negative 5. If I enter that part of my expression, I will get 13. That's example number 2. And we have one final example that we'll walk through together. We have 2 equals 10 minus 2/3 times the difference of 3x and 12. Okay, so this one I have a fraction outside of the parentheses. Again, do not be afraid of that fraction. I'm going to treat it just like it was a whole number. Okay, I'm going to start by doing step 1, which is to distribute. I am going to distribute this negative 2/3 to both terms, the 3x and the negative 12. If I enter negative 2/3 times 3 into the calculator, what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a negative 6, okay? And it's negative 6x. I'm sorry, that's not correct. That is negative 2x. Should be a negative 2x. And then if I do negative 2/3 times negative 12, that is going to give me a positive 8. Okay. Now, I'm just going to bring everything else down in my equation. Again, you can draw that line if you want to emphasize the two sides. Okay. Now, step 2 is to combine like terms on the left. There's nothing to combine on the left. Step 3 is to combine like terms on the right. Are there any like terms on the right to combine? The answer is yes. You have this positive 10 and you have this plus 8. When I combine those two constants, 10 plus 8, that's going to give me 18. Okay. Then I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. Okay. Now I have 18 minus 2x. Now, in order to get rid of this 18, the 18 is positive, so I am going to subtract 18 from the other side. So I'm going to do minus 18, minus 18. Again, I know that there's no positive sign there or no plus sign, but this 18 is positive. So I am doing the inverse to get rid of the positive 18, and I'm subtracting 18 to both sides. Then that's going to give me negative 16 equals, bring down the negative 2x. So now I have negative 16 equals negative 2x. Then I'm going to do the inverse operation. I'm going to divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2 to both sides. The negative 2's are going to cancel. I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to write this over here. And this leaves me with 16 divided by negative 2 is 8. And so I have x equals 8. And so again, at this point, I can enter this into Desmos. I can enter in the expression, and then I should get the answer is 2. And so this is how you solve multi-step equations using the distributive property, combining like terms, and then using the inverse operation to solve the remaining equation.